Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the basic principles of cell injury and cellular adaptations. Here today we will have a discussion on cellular adaptations. It comes under GTU, that is Gujarat Technological University, third semester, Pathophysiology, chapter 1, and myself Dinesh Dangar. First of all, we need to understand the cellular responses towards the stress and those noxious stimuli. Here, while going with the normal cell, each and individual normal cell may have a structural and functional ability to perform various types of functions inside the cell. It could be a metabolism, it could be a differentiation, it could be a specialization. And these are all functions may have a genetically programmed arrangements, and in many cases, while constraining to the neighboring cells as well as the availability of metabolic substances are important functions in noxious or towards the stress stimuli. So while coming to the pathophysiology, what we need to understand that previously normal healthy cell may undergo dysfunctioning, or it may not be totally dysfunctioning, but there might be a certain variations in their functioning. The way it was previously programmed, it may undergo changes. And we know that the body may have a specific kind of steady state that handles the normal physiological demands and the maintains a steady state for each and individual cell, tissue, organ, and the system. And we can call it as a homeostasis. So, what is homeostasis? It is able to handle normal physiological demands and maintaining a steady state, that is called homeostasis. While considering the stress and the noxious stimuli, they are the factors which could lead to have a cellular adaptations. What is cellular adaptations? According to the stress and the noxious stimuli, cell may undergo certain changes. It may happen that those changes may be occurring in their functions or via their physiological activities. So here, more severe physiological stress and some pathologic stimuli may bring about a number of physiological and morphological cellular adaptations, during which new but altered steady states are achieved, preserving the viability of the cell and modulating its function as it responds to such stimuli. Here, we can have an example of cancer. While considering cancer cell, they may have a specific characteristics, like they may follow uncontrolled cell division. Whereas during homeostasis, we have observed that there will be a controlled cell division. In cases of cancer, it may have a uncontrolled cell division, maybe leading to forming tumor, and this tumor will be the mass of the cell. So, inside the body, each individual cell, tissue, organ, and system may try to accommodate with the presence of any kind of stress or the noxious stimuli. And after that, there will be a change in homeostasis. What we have here, a kind of normal cell. That means homeostasis is maintained. If there will be a stress increased, again the cellular demand may be increased and cell may undergo adaptation. So cell here tries to live or adapt with the kind of stress and the specific bacteria, fungi, yeast, or any kind of stimuli. If stimuli or the specific cell is injured, or there might be a region that is injurious stimulus, can leading to have a cell injury, and that further cell injury may lead to the cell death. If cellular adaptations may not occur, there will be a inability to adapt with the stress or the specific stimuli, leading to have a cell injury or cell death. Cell death may further lead to the non-functioning of the particular tissues, and it may lead to the organ failure wherever it is available. Now coming to the types of cellular adaptations. Here we can have a different five aspects. These are the five ways. With the help of these ways or the specific adaptations, cell may try to survive, or cell may have influences of those stress or the specific stimuli. Into that, in this diagram we can see in central region there will be availability of normal bronchial epithelial cell. Into that, first changes if suppose this is normal bronchial epithelial cell may undergo a kind of stimuli. It may lead to have a first, that is A, atrophy. Here during atrophy we can see that the size of cell is reduced, as well as we can see that their organelles or the number of organelles are reduced. Number two, that is hypertrophy may occur. Hypertrophy, in that we can compare both the diagram with normal cell as well as the cell with hypertrophy. In cases of hypertrophy, the size of cell may be increased, as well as we can see that there might be those organelles may undergo duplication or their numbers may be increased. Third condition, that is hyperplasia. In cases of hyperplasia, cell may undergo cell division, dividing itself into the more number of cell. D, that is metaplasia. In cases of metaplasia, we can see that structural deformities can be seen in cell, or there might be alteration in their structure. Whereas in the cases of dysplasia, we can see that nucleus may be or may have a more than 50% of area occupied under it. So these are the five basic cellular adaptations of growth and differentiation can be seen with a kind of stress and the noxious stimuli. Now we will go through each and individual cellular adaptations in detail. First, that is hyperplasia. Here what we can see that increase in the number of cells in organ or tissues. Here number of cells are increasing. So overall there will be a increased volume of organ or the tissue itself. Here it could be divided into two. That is first in that physiological hyperplasia. In physiologic hyperplasia, it is caused by the increased production of those growth factors, increase the level of growth factors that it will be on receptors and on the responding cells, or due to the activation of particular intercellular signaling pathway. Here we have seen that in hyperplasia, the number of cells are increasing. It means the cell which previously was doing perfectly fine, or the metabolic activities was going on regularly. In that case, it may undergo alteration, and in that alteration, it increases their number. That means by dividing it, it may increases their number. So for that number or that multiplying the number may require certain growth factors, as well as the role of certain receptors are involved into it. Here there will be a production of transcription factors, and these transcription factors may lead to the turn on many transcription genes, and these transcription genes may lead to the cell proliferation, that is cell division. And as we know that the cell division is controlled by the nucleus, and again in that nucleus the DNA and RNA, that is overall those genes are responsible behind the the cell division, where we have already studied during first semester and second semester, that is the transcription and the translocation processes. Here it could be hormonal hyperplasia or the compensatory hyperplasia. I have just here tried to compare these two. In cases of hormonal hyperplasia, it increases the functional capacity of a tissue whenever it is needed. Whereas in the cases of compensatory hyperplasia, it increases tissue mass after damage or the partial resection. Here we can have a hormonal hyperplasia in cases of hyperplasia of uterus during pregnancy. We have seen that during pregnancy, the size of that uterus may expand up to the size of the third time, or we can say that 3 times. Here, in the cases of compensatory hyperplasia, we can have an example of proliferation of residual liver cells and the regeneration of liver cells, and it can be seen during alcoholism. Here, in cases of hormonal hyperplasia, hormones themselves act as a growth factor, whereas in the cases of compensatory hyperplasia, the causes are not defined. But suppose while coming with the example of liver, we can understand that specific alcohol or the alcoholism may be responsible for the compensatory hyperplasia, leading to the inflammation of liver. Second, so first was A, that was physiologic hyperplasia. Second condition, that is pathologic hyperplasia. Here we can see that the excessive hormonal stimulation or increased or the excessive stimulation of those growth factors that may act on the target cells, and by affecting on the target cells it increases their number. Example, that is endometrial hyperplasia. Here, as we know that during menstrual cycle, at the end of each and individual menstrual cycle, there will be a shedding of the inner layer of the uterus, that is endometrium. And after that, under the influences of estrogen and progesterone level, there will be a formation of that inner layer. Here we can see that in many cases there might be a imbalance between this estrogen and progesterone, and may leading to the changes in menstrual cycle. Here, if imbalance may occur, absolute or relative increase in the amount of estrogen, and it could lead to the hyperplasia of endometrial glands, leading to the abnormal menstrual bleeding. So endometrial hyperplasia is a kind of pathologic hyperplasia. While coming to the second, that is benign prostatic hyperplasia, where it will be that specific hyperplasia will be controlled or regulated, but for that the mechanism so differentiated from the cancers. It is entirely different from the cancer. In cases of cancer, uncontrolled cell division can be seen, but during benign prostatic hyperplasia, the cell division may have a control on it. Here, however, it increases the risk for cancer. Second condition. First, we have gone through the hyperplasia. Now coming to the second point, that is metaplasia, or the second type of cellular adaptation. Here, during metaplasia, we can see that reversible changes in which one adult cell type, that it could be epithelial or the mesenchymal cell, is replaced by the another adult cell type, that is metaplasia. Here, adaptive substitutions of cell, that is the removal of that cell, are sensitive to stress by cell types and are better able to withstand the adverse environment. Metaplasia can be divided to two types. It could be of epithelial and the mesenchymal. Here, in the cases of epithelial, we can have an example of skin. Due to the friction, it may happen that many a time skin may be, or the upper layer of the skin may be removed from the site. But after that, within 2 to 3 days, we can see that there will be a formation of new layer onto it. So we can consider that change in the layer of skin cells, that is metaplasia. Epithelial metaplasia of columnar to squamous, as in respiratory tract, in responses to the chronic irritation. However, important protective mechanism of mucus secretion is lost. In many cases, we can see that due to the presence of specific stimuli in specific respiratory tract, it may irritate the local or the specific mucosa where exactly they are attached. And now, once that site will be removed from, or that specific occupied area, that will be narrowed, or the specific virus or the fungi or any kind of stimulus will be removed or detached from the site. After that, there will be a formation of new layer onto it. So it is a double-edged sword or a kind of double-edged sword. Additionally, if influences causing metaplasia persist, it can induce the malignant transformation in metaplastic epithelium. If it may happen regularly, right? If it may be continuous or the chronic process, then it may lead to the specific metaplastic epithelium. We are considering their mechanism of action. Here, there will be a reprogramming of stem cells that are known to exist in normal tissues or of undifferentiated mesenchymal cells that is present in connective tissue. So these are all the processes are in auto mode where they work simultaneously. Once that there will be abruption of the layer, there will be a formation of new layer. Again, there will be a binding of the stimulus or nuclei, may leading to the removal of that specific site, and there will be a regeneration of new cells. So it is already reprogramming of cells, stem cells. In a metaplastic change, these precursor cells differentiate along a new pathway. In cases of metaplastic, where it will may undergo a chronic or we can say that continuous phase, where it is a continuous process, then they may have a different mechanism. Third, into cellular adaptations, that is hypertrophy. While considering hypertrophy, it increases in the size of cells, right? So it increases in size of organ, because ultimately if cell may be increased, right, or cell size may be increased or cell numbers may be increased, the effects can be seen on specific organ or the specific location, leading to formation of we can say like it may forms nodules into it, or it may forms a specific fluid into it, that is edema. Here, by considering mechanism of action, that how exactly it works, due to the synthesis of more structural components. Previously, during homeostasis, the needed components were formed, but while undergoing hypertrophy, it may forms the cells, or it may forms the specific organelles which may be required to adapt the cellular injury. It could be a noxious stimuli. It mainly occurs in non-dividing cells like myocardial fibers, and it can be seen with the cardiac injury or any specific cardiac disorder. Here, nuclei in hypertrophied cells may have a larger DNA content than the normal one, because these cells, like while coming to the non-dividing cells like myocardial fibers, they won't divide. So in that cases, the nucleus may be filled up with the large component of the DNA. And since the cells arrest in the cell cycle without undergoing mitosis, it can be both physiologic and the pathologic hypertrophy. So here also there will be two types of hypertrophy. It could be pathologic and the physiologic. Example, in many cases where increased workload on heart can be seen, or any kind of muscles, which could lead to the hypertrophy of muscles and the bulging muscles of bodybuilders. We can have an example of those bodybuilders where they used to work on specific muscles, like example biceps and the triceps, right? So they used to have a excessive working or increased workload on those biceps and the triceps, then leading to the bulging of muscles. There will be a formation of those bulgy. Second example could be increased uterus size in pregnancy. As we know that during pregnancy, the size of uterus may undergo expansion, leading to the 3 times. Here, first, that is hypertrophy of cardiac muscles may occur in a number of cardiovascular diseases. Always, in cases of diseases, it may undergo hypertrophy when we have example of cardiac muscles. Here, there are certain conditions which may produces the left ventricular hypertrophy. First condition, that is systemic hypertension, that is elevated blood pressure. Second condition, that is aortic valve disease. It may include stenosis and the insufficiency of valve while going with the opening and closing of it. Third condition, that is mitral insufficiency. It is mitral valve insufficiency. It may happen that it may not completely open or the closed, leading to the leakage of blood during those cardiac cycle. Second, that is hypertrophy of smooth muscles, and we have an example of cardiac achalasia. This cardiac achalasia can be seen with esophagus. In cases of esophagus, that specific opening, right, in esophagus, the last, where exactly esophagus bind with the or joints with the stomach, and that specific sphincter, that is cardiac sphincter. In many cases, due to the higher production of acid in stomach, may lead to injure that specific region of cardiac sphincter, leading to damage or inflammation of that specific area, may not allow to pass food from the esophagus to stomach, right? So that specific condition can be termed as a cardiac achalasia. Second, that is pyloric stenosis. Here, in case of pyloric stenosis, it can be observed in stomach. And the third, that is intestinal strictures. That intestinal strictures may have a example of, or can be seen with the hypertrophy of those smooth muscles. Next condition, that is atrophy. Here, in cases of atrophy, their numbers and the size of those parenchymal cells may be reduced in specific cell, tissue, organ, or system, or we can consider any part of the body, right? Here what will happen? The numbers and the size of cell will be reduced, and that specific condition can be termed as a atrophy. First, that is physiologic atrophy. In cases of physiologic atrophy, is a kind of normal pressures, right? And it can be seen with aging. Aging means the age. While increase in age, in many tissues, it may happen, and which could be due to the loss of endocrine stimulation or arteriosclerosis. Now we can have a example. Into the first is atrophy of lymphoid tissues with age. So the number of lymphoid cells or the lymph cells may undergo reduction with age. Next, atrophy of thymus in adult life. In many cases, in adults also, the atrophy of thymus can be seen, and the number of thymus may be reduced, or those number of thymus cells may be, thyroid cells may be reduced. So the direct effects can be seen on the metabolism or the iodine trapping of the level of iodine. Third example for atrophy, that is atrophy of gonads after menopause. So here menopause is a condition, and it can be seen with female. Here in female, after the age of 45, 50 or 55, generally it may happen between 45 to 55 age of the year of the age, and in that cases, the female may not have a further menstrual cycle. After that, there will be a complete cessation of menstruation. So in that case also, atrophy can be seen in gonads. Atrophy of brain with aging. Here, this is the best example that can suit the atrophy. We may have seen that many adult person with the age most probably 80, 85, 90 or 100 years, they may not recall the memory, or they may not have ability to remember many things, right? So that is a kind of atrophy of brain, and that can be seen with the aging, or due to the age, right, or increased age. Next kind of atrophy, that is pathologic atrophy. Here, in cases of pathologic, it includes two. First, there is starvation atrophy. In cases of starvation atrophy, we have seen that many a time that many a person may not have a proper food, or if they may have a food, it may not be nutrition, or they may not have a nutrition. So they may not have that kind of nutritious food, and due to the lacking of that nutritious food, person may be suffering from the starvation atrophy, and it can lead to the many kind of certain diseases. Second, that is ischemic atrophy. Here, Ischemia is a specific condition where we can see that any a cell, tissue, organ or system may not be supplied with the enough amount of oxygen. So here enough amount of oxygen mean that while considering oxygen there will not be a proper blood supply. If that specific cell, tissue, organ or system may not have enough amount of blood reaching to it, it means it may undergo ischemic condition, leading to change in their metabolic activities. While coming to the causes of atrophy, there are 6 or 7 different causes which can lead to the atrophy. Causes means the reason behind the development of atrophy. First cause, that is decreased workload, that is atrophy of disuse. While considering decreased workload, we can see that with fracture or the broken limb, right? So here in broken limb, that is immobilized in plaster cast or complete bed rest, can lead to have a atrophy of that specific cell and tissues. So what ultimately it will do? It rapidly decreases the size of cell, and which could be reversible once activity is resumed on time. Second cause could be loss of innervation, that is denervation atrophy. Here, in many cases of innervation, generally those specific nerves which may innervate the organs, cells, tissues may undergo damage, and the damage to nerves may lead to the decreased or diminished nerve supply. In cases of loss of innervation, atrophy of muscle fiber that is supplied by those nerves can be responsible for the heat. Third reason could be diminished blood supply. Diminished blood supply, again a part of ischemia. Here there will be a arterial occlusive disease, and it could lead to the ischemia. So there is not enough blood supply. So with oxygen, those nutrients are not reaching to that specific area. It could lead to the atrophy of tissue, that is owing to the progressive cell loss, and after that there will be a number of cells will be reduced, leading to have a cell death or the failure of that specific tissue, organ or the system. Example, in late adult life, brain undergoes progressive atrophy due to the atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis, again a kind of disorder, and again we will study it during this third semester pathophysiology. Fourth cause could be inadequate nutrition, right? The type of food they are or they used to consume, they may not have a nutrition, right? Or we can call it as a non-balanced diet. Here, the disorder, that is marasmus. Again, we can consider kwashiorkor too, marasmus and the kwashiorkor. In cases of marasmus, it uses of the skeletal muscle as a source of energy, and after other reserves such as adipose have been depleted, so it may lead to the muscle wasting or the wasting of the muscle. So it is because of, see, marasmus is a kind of disorder where it may involve those skeletal muscles, right? And why it may involve those skeletal muscles? Because enough amount of food or the enough balanced diet may not be supplied, and it can be generally seen in children's. In cases of chronic inflammatory diseases, there will be overproduction of cytokine, that is TNF, cytokine tumor necrosis factor. It could be a TNF alpha, and appetite suppressions and the muscle atrophy can be seen, leading to the cachexia. So that is what muscle wasting that can be seen in marasmus. Next, cause number 5, that is loss of endocrine stimulation. Here we can see that there will be a loss of estrogen stimulation after the menopause, results into the physiologic atrophy of the endometrium, vaginal epithelium and the breast. Number 6, that is aging. That is what? The senile atrophy. With increased age, that is what, starting from the day 0, next is first, next is 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 10 year, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 90, that is what aging. or the senile atrophy. Here it is associated with the loss of cell, and it can be generally seen with those cells which may be undividing, right? We can say like those permanent cells, like it could be present in brain or the heart, right? So first, always it involves brain and the heart. Number 7, and the last cause of the atrophy, that is pressure. While considering pressure, generally the compression of tissues can be observed. We can have an example. An enlarging benign tumor can cause the atrophy in surrounding, that is compressed tissues, due to the ischemia, right? So that ischemia may lead to the pressure or the tissue compression. Although atrophic cells may have diminished function, they are not dead. Right here, in cases of atrophic cells, they are, or their functions are diminished, but still they are working. So what we have discussed today, that is a kinds of cellular adaptations, or we can call it as a adaptive disorders. So in that we have seen atrophy, hypertrophy, hyperplasia, and metaplasia. So this is all about today's class. Thank you. Thank you very much.